Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm David Vauxhall and welcome to another video. Now today I'm super excited because Lynn Triumph in Vauxhall have actually lent me this Speed Twin to have a little play on. So I wanted to take it out, I wanted to see what it's like, I wanted to see how it feels. Does it make me smile is the question that I'm asking myself today, because as a motorbike, you know, a lot of us have them as toys, and the point is, do they make you smile? Okay, so let's talk through the bike a little bit to start off with. What is it and why would you be interested? Well, a Speed Twin is what this is. Now it's based on the Bonneville from Triumph. Now it's got the parallel twin 1200cc engine, so both, it's two cylinders going in parallel one with the other, getting about 96 brake horsepower, which is pretty punchy. Like, it's not super fast. Got a couple of bikes coming past now, boys. Like I said, it's got about 96 horsepower, which is enough, but it's also got about 112 Newton meters of torque. So that's right down in the rev range. So you're going to get power early on to get yourself out of trouble if you need to. Now, as you can see, this bike is kind of retro looking. Try and call it their modern classic, because it's a new bike and it looks like an old bike. So we've got this kind of retro styling. We've got the twin exhausts, one on either side, and obviously the bar end mirrors. This is a bit of a feature that Triumph have put on this bike, and it's not a very common thing for manufacturers to put bar end mirrors on their bikes, because, you know, usually they'll have them kind of coming out here and they look awkward, and guys will often change them very quickly. So it's cool that Triumph have actually done that to make the styling of this bike still fit within that retro feel. Alright, so even though it is a retro looking bike, is it still good? Well, we've got big wheels at the back, we've got big wheels at the front, lots of great sticky rubber, and the brakes wise, on the front we've got twin Brembo brakes and a single disc on the back with a Nissan caliper. Now, this will stop you. You know, it does pick up speed quite quickly and it will stop you quite quickly as well. That's one of the key differences. Like, when we look at this bike, we think it looks retro, but actually all of the features, the brakes, the engine, they've all been updated along with the suspension to make sure it feels a lot more like a modern bike. So you have the confidence to throw it into the corners, you have the confidence to accelerate hard and then brake if you need to as well, knowing you've got new rubber, new discs, new brakes that are going to stop you if you have to get out of trouble. Let's talk a little bit about tech. All right, so this bike has got 3 riding modes. So we've got regular, road, then we've got sport, and also rain. So what these riding modes do is it just changes the dynamic of the bike. In a normal road setup, it's all right. You know, it's a little bit unresponsive at the low end, but as you kind of crank it, it will pick up pace quite nicely. However, flick it into sport, and you've got a lot more torque, a lot more response on this throttle, so that even at low end, you're gonna feel it pick up. And that's something that when you're out here on these country roads that you want. You wanna have that fun, you wanna have that responsiveness, and you wanna have the engaging feeling of what this bike can do. However, when you flick it into wet, that all just slows down. You know, it becomes less responsive. You have to really crank the throttle more in order to get the power down, which is exactly what you want if you are on wet roads. You don't want to be kind of overloading that back tire and spinning out in any way. So it's kind of there just for the people to feel comfortable, you know? And I think that's one of the things which is great about this bike, is it's super accessible. And what I mean about this bike being super accessible is the way that it feels. The seat is very low, so I can flat foot with bent knees, and I'm 6 foot tall, which means that the bike feels very low, even though it is almost 200 kilos where it doesn't feel heavy. And that's something which is really important if you are quite a new rider, if you are someone that has you know, kind of upgraded from a smaller bike to a bigger bike. you still want to feel in control of it. And actually I think that the way that this is set up, the weight is very low down, the bike itself is very low, it does feel comfortable. And that was actually something which surprised me a little bit. I thought it would be a little bit heavy. You know, the last bike I rode was a Street Triple RX, the old Street Triple model, and I thought this would feel a lot heavier because it is 20 kilos heavier than that bike, but you just do not notice it. Now the other thing that's interesting, let's just talk about speed and street here for a second, because we've got, you might have heard this terminology before. Triumph have the Street Triple and also the Speed Triple. Now the Street is it was a 675cc engine, and then the Speed was a 1050. So we had that power difference between the two. Triumph have continued that with these new twin models. So the Speed is slightly more. This is the 1200cc twin engine, and then the Street Twin is a 900cc. So the power difference is there. Now if you're looking at potentially getting a Triumph bike, then this is something you can consider. So in terms of power, we're going to start off with the Street Twin. So it's about 55 bhp. I think they upped it to 64 bhp in their remodel. Then we go to this Speed Twin at 94, and then we go up from there to the Street Triple, which is the new one's got about 121 brake horsepower, and then the Speed Triple after that. So we're kind of seeing this linear increase in speed, in power, and in price. To me, this bike, it fits very nicely within their range, and for someone who is gonna go around and kind of drive through town quite often, and maybe you want to have some fun on the weekends going through roads like this, then it's great. It's fun, it's exciting, and I've had a great time having it just over the past day or so. But what I would say is it's not so great on the motorways. I drove it for about 70 miles on the motorway, and to be honest, I didn't really want to go much over 65 miles an hour. And that's just because, as you can see, there is zero wind protection. The wind just hits you, and we've got a very upright riding position. As you can see here, as I'm sat, the wind literally just hits me in the chest, and it's just, you just don't want to go much faster than 65 on it. That's kind of how I felt, without having to really tuck in behind the tank. But if you're doing longer motorway journeys, then you don't really want to be having to do that. So just be aware of that. You can get an optional fire screen for this, which will help a little bit, but it's very much just here. It's not massive. So I think that if you are looking as a commuter vehicle, probably this is not going to be the thing that you want. This is really for having fun around town and having fun in the countryside, looking great and feeling safe, because you've got all those modern features in the brakes and the suspension and the chassis and the engine. But enough from me. I want to have another little ride on this bike. I want to have another little play, go put a smile on my face. So I'm going to go for a little ride, and then I've got to get this back to the dealership in only a few hours. Let me see what the time is. Oh god, yeah, not long at all. So I'm going to have a little play, get it back into London, drop it off. That's it. Whoa, that was a lot of fun. I am literally handing the bike back now. It's just over here. I've dropped it back up at Lynn Triumph, and it's been a lot of fun. I think there's a few things I didn't mention earlier which I think are worth noting. If you are thinking about getting this bike, sitting on the motorway for more than about an hour, you're going to get a bit of a numb bum. It's a minor, because in town it's very comfortable, but the seat is just not designed for you to be sat at that same position all the time. It's designed for you to move around and like really kind of be with the bike rather than just kind of sitting. So I wouldn't use this as a tourer if I was you. In the same situation, like I was saying earlier, on the motorway, kind of if you are going to go slightly above the speed limit and hit maybe 70 to 80, then the bike will sit at that kind of 4,000 RPM and it will vibrate a little bit more, which is why it's a little bit less comfortable than maybe another bike which is used to that. But chilling and being at like 3,000 RPM, 2,000 RPM, it's so comfortable, it's really smooth, and for kind of going about town, it's ideal. So You know, what would you use this bike for? Are you going to be buying it and using it in the city? Are you going to be in London or in your hometown and doing kind of just getting about and hitting the back roads? Then yeah, beautiful little bike, would definitely recommend. But if you're going to be on the motorway for a while, nah, this is not your bike. So yeah, I've handed it back to Triumph now, and I've had a great time. So guys, if you've enjoyed this video, that's great, love that. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't already, then subscribe, because I plan on doing more of these videos, and not just bikes but also cars. I am going to be fully stuck into the automotive side of things, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment if you enjoyed it, comment if you'd like me to review a different bike, or what your thoughts are on the Triumph Speed Twin. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.